All right. Good morning and welcome back to Coffees with Toffees. My name is Toffees, bringing you the action here today on September 5th on a Friday. Quick introductions for you as we start out this morning. First and foremost, my name is Toffee. You can find me at Toffees_Dota2 for updates on upcoming matches, tournaments, casting, and obviously Coffees with Toffees. You can find the podcast over on iTunes as well as SoundCloud. And of course, if you want to support the show, we're trying to keep it grassroots. We're trying to avoid advertisements, and we can do that if you go to patreon.com/Toffees and donate. Anything you got, $1, 50 cents, it doesn't matter. It's appreciated. It helps keep the show running. It costs me about 15 to 20 bucks a month to run the show. We'd like to offset that cost. Introductions today. Our co-host was supposed to be Gorgon the Wonder Cow, but I think he slept in, so hopefully he'll be calling in shortly. I'm also joined, of course, for our Friday Cosmetic Corner feature by the intrepid Feeder Noob. How are you doing today, Feeder? All right. That makes more sense. I need to make sure I connect with that Skype call before I go ahead and lead in with that. It has been a long weekend, but how are you doing today, Feeder Noob?
Not too bad, Toffees. Happy Friday.
Excellent. Welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you here. Feeder will be talking about cosmetics and kind of the changes, as you know, and some of the techie stuff that came out a little bit later on in the show. And the final introduction is for someone who I feel like needs no introduction, as we've been talking about him for the last 8 months or so. It is Toffees Jr. He's joining me in the studio here today. Here's the little guy. How's it going? He's asleep and he's hanging out with me because Mom wants to get a little nap in before his breakfast. So when we cut to Feeder Noob's Cosmetic Corner, it probably means that I'm running him over to get some food. So bear with me if that happens. Otherwise, he's going to be joining me in the studio because, hey, I'm a caster. I've got a son. That's what we do. All right, let's talk about the news for the week as it sort of plays out here. First thing to talk about is pro news. Not a lot of huge changes. The rosters have sort of started to stabilize. The last big one, and we all knew it was coming, let's be completely honest, was EGM and S4. They officially have left Alliance and are off onto their own projects, most likely Team Secret for S4. At the end of the day, we can't say where they're going to land. Nothing's official yet, but we do know the glory days of Alliance have passed. We saw a post on Alliance's page that says, end of an era, goodbye. It's got a heartfelt see you later written by all of the players who remain on the team, as well as the manager. It's interesting to me. Have you had a chance, have you read this at all, Feeder Noob?
Yeah, I checked it out. It had an item you could buy.
Yeah, it's like Loda wrote this long, heartfelt thing, and then Admiral Bulldogs cracks me up because it's about 3 sentences. That's like, you know, good luck. I can't wait to go up against you, suckers. And then, you know, down at the bottom, there's this fun little thing where it says you can buy a commemorative keychain signed by the entire team. So Alliance not going to miss even one chance to make a little bit of money off of this departure. And I guess I can't blame them. Who knows how New Alliance will perform. So Alliance no more, though. That's a pretty big deal. That means Na'Vi and Alliance, the kings of Western Dota for a very long time, some of the most stable teams, are no longer that way. Do you have any feelings, Feeder, about the Na'Vi or the Alliance or kind of the disintegration of the classics, if you will?
Well, the new Na'Vi, I feel, has been looking pretty good, in my opinion. But I think Alliance is going to have to find their footing. So maybe we'll see some new teams kind of rise to the top, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing. It could go very well. So, we're going to see. It's good to see an end of an era sometimes. It puts some fresh blood into the scene. And with the new betas and the development of the game, I think that can only be good for the overall tournament base. It also means a lot of new pro teams have hit the scene. I know that Puppy was negotiating for some sponsorships for his new team and some other groups as well. So it means that we're not just going to see our core that we always have. We're seeing a lot of new growth, and that's exciting. Which takes us over to tournament news. The Synergy League, $50,000 plus crowdsourcing has been announced. The teams are in play. So I got the list up on the screen, but I'll run through them for those of you listening to the podcast. In the China division, Fiji, Invictus, Hyperglory, LGD, Newbie, Team DK. Massive group. That's going to be a beast. Southeast Asia is all the usual suspects, Titan, Arrow, First Departure, etc., as well as some new ones like Johnny's Revenge and Can't Say Whis, so that should be a fun one. And Europe is a who's who of new teams, right? It's Cleave, Tinker, Complexity, Empire, VP, NVMI, which I like. NVMI is this new team that's, I don't know if you guys know, it's made up in part by the old manager of Na'Vi. So it's a team that nobody's really heard of, but has a lot of great players on it. Moscow 5, Hellraisers, Sed Nullus, Meet Your Maker, X Game, Denial Secret, and Power Rangers. So a pretty good start out, and then 2 obviously qualifier play-in teams should make that a very interesting tournament. $50,000. That seems like it's the entry level for brand new tournaments for prize pools, and I guess that's good for the sport, the fact that a lot more money is being needed to even get these Tier 1 and 2 teams to consider playing. So keep an eye on that one. It should be a pretty good season, and they obviously are doing crowdsourcing. So if you want to buy that Storm Spirit outfit, you also will be giving, I think it's $2.5, just like the Compendium was, to the overall prize pool. Second tournament to let you know about, Tactic Hive. So this one's a little bit smaller. This one's something you might be able to play in. Tactic Hive is a league that runs on Fridays. You get a team, you play when you want to. At the end of the day, the winner gets $2,000. It's a really laid-back way to do it. It's a totally new take on tournaments. Definitely check it out at tactichive.com. I've looked into it. I think me and my team are going to play. Should be a pretty good time. So, oh, it looks like someone's waking up. Hey, buddy. Alright, so those are the new tournaments that are coming down the pipeline, and we can now talk about tournament changes, things that are different in the tournament scene right now. WEC, for instance, big news there. Titan, a team that had qualified and was headed to China, and you're actually watching, you could be watching, I think, the WEC playoffs right now. Titan couldn't get a visa to travel there, so VG had to step in, and that's a pretty massive team to get. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, Feeder. If you tell me that I get to watch VG over Titan, I'm not mad about it. So that's pretty great news. That's pretty exciting to see. Too bad for Titan, but I think great for a lot of the fans. Maybe not the outside of the Chinese fans. Obviously, WEC is already a Chinese tournament, but VG, just such a famous team. It's so much fun to watch. Next big piece of news, EMC, the excellent Moscow Cup, has putting Team Complexity to replace Virtus Pro. Now, I talked last week to Pimp Muggle about kind of the changes in the leagues and why they're all happening. A year ago, we never would have seen teams drop out, new teams jump in. It's sort of a new thing. And the reason for that is a lot of these teams during the shakeups and the changeovers didn't know necessarily what tournaments were going to be out there, what their rosters were going to look like, how visas were going to go, and their managers just sort of booked things. Unfortunately, the players don't have any control over that, and in a lot of instances, just couldn't commit to the time frames of a lot of these tournaments. They said, hey, will you be in our tournament? We'll tell you the dates later. And a lot of these dates are starting to conflict in terms of the playoffs. So EMC loses VP. That said, Complexity is the brand new team that's made up of those Han pros, Moon Meander among them. And it should be a lot of fun to see them actually in a major tournament. There's a lot of big names like Na'Vi over in the EMC, and it'll be fun to watch them take those guys on. So I'm excited about seeing Complexity step into the big leagues and see what they can do. Next thing I want to go over is a little bit of a Star Ladder roundup. We are in the end of week 1, so let's give you the updates on what's going on with Star Ladder. At the end of the first week, Na'Vi is number 1. They've got 7 points and are far and away ahead of the rest of the pack, followed by 2nd place Tinker, 3rd place Alliance, and 4th place VP. The surprise here is VP. VP's not been playing very well, except in Star Ladder, where they're doing very well. Secret Team a bit below them, and the big surprise for me is a couple of guys like Cloud9, who I expected to be better off, all the way down towards the bottom half of the bracket. So unfortunate, but that's just the way it is, and that's your Star Ladder wrap-up for the week. Now let's talk about Dota 2 news, and this should be a lot of fun. Is the patch is here. The patch has arrived, guys. We've been waiting for this one for weeks and weeks and weeks and months, and there's a bunch of new features. Oh, hey, bud. So the new features are pretty awesome. The first one, and we're going to go in order of hype, the most overhyped feature is Techies. And you know what? It's not so bad. I played a lot last night. Techies is in almost every game, and in fact, if we pull up Dat Dota, you're going to see that they have an 80%. This is the pick rate. They are at an 80% pick rate right now in terms of games. That said, their win rate is less than 43%. It's gone up. It was 40 for a while. What that tells me is people don't know how to play him. And honestly, all you need to know is get a gem or some sentry wards and make him completely worthless. Know where he's going to put his bombs down. There's inevitable spots, the side shop, the secret shop, the runes. There you go. Put some sentry wards down, know where he's going to be, and just monitor it, and it really negates his ability. The one thing that you can do is a suicide bomb. Be aware of that, and make sure that you're not hanging out when you're low on health in the laning phase. Other than that, makes him worthless, slows down the process, and that's how you handle him in the pub game, at least from my experience. So, have you had a chance to play against him at all, Feeder?
You know, I was not playing last night. I was casting, which is a bummer, but I'm excited to try him myself.
Casting is never a bummer. Casting is never a bummer, but I know exactly what you mean. And you will. I did a bot game with him just so I could learn his skills, and he's actually a lot of fun. He's very trolly, but he's a good time. Least hype thing, but my favorite thing, ARDM, the All Random Death Match. If you don't know what that is, it means each team gets 40 points. You win by either taking the Ancient or killing your opposing team 45 times. Here's the catch, though. You ready for this? Every time you respawn, you get a different hero. That means that the game is like completely crazy, completely blown open. You keep the same items. You get to rebuild your skill trees. But at the end of the day, you're playing someone completely different. So if you go ahead and build yourself a Bloodstone and get someone who can't use Bloodstone, or an Axe is a great example, you could be in some serious trouble. So, items that are great in that are like Dagons and Force Staffs and stuff that everybody loves, Blink Daggers. So, a lot of fun. I encourage you to try it. It's the least hyped part of the patch, and I think it is amazing. In fact, it was in the game about a month and a half ago. You just had to know how to get to it from the console commands. Did you ever have a chance to play it out of the console commands?
We sure did. I think that might account for the small hype.
Yeah.
People have been playing it.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, I love that mode. So much troll.
It is. There's a lot of. It's a lot of. I mean, it's great. It's relaxing. If you need a game that just kind of takes your mind off of things and has to have a good time, which is tough sometimes in Dota, especially when you get matched with people who are at a little bit of a higher MMR, that can be really tough. And this, I think, helps fix that just a little bit. Next thing that came out is the A to Z challenge. It's called the All Hero Challenge. You can find it through your profile, and basically what it is it's the old A to Z, which if you don't know, is play every hero in Dota, but sanctioned by Valve, and I believe you get a trophy once you make it to the end. It's all tracked on your profile, so you get mad props if you do it. I'm excited out last night. I failed miserably every single time due to terrible connections on the East Coast server. That said, though, should be a lot of fun. I'm going to be working on, actually after the show, I'll be working on that for most of the day and the week. But I really enjoy it. I'm glad that it's an example to me of how Valve listens, right? Because the A to Z challenge has been around for a while. I mean, we've all heard about it. We've all seen casters and streamers do it. And at the end of the day, it's something that was sort of like, hey, yeah, I did the A to Z challenge. But Valve listened and then put it into the game because they said if enough people care about it, why not sanction it? And I think that that's a great example of how Valve actually does care and listen to the community. Let's see, what else? Witch Doctor. This is a fun one. This is not patch related, but the Witch Doctor song has hit 1 million plays. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go to YouTube, Google Witch Doctor Sings, and it is literally a feature where Witch Doctor, they use all of the words and verbiage from the Witch Doctor character, hero, and they make a song out of it on YouTube. It's hilarious. I'm sure you've seen it, but the fact that it has 1 million views is kind of hilarious to me. So great work on that video. I can't play it right now, or I would, except that I don't want to get muted on the stream because of copyright issues. I don't play music anymore until Twitch tells me that I can do it with permissions, because I have the permissions, but I still don't want to deal with submitting the please remove my copyright infringement. Alright, so that's that. That's Dota 2 news for the most part. Let's run through some game picks for you guys today. There's a lot of games going on. I'll pull them up over here. So right now we are looking at the WEC LAN going on. If you're not watching me live, you're probably watching that, and it's still going. Last I checked, Na'Vi was doing pretty well, but that's the last thing that I got to see. Now, as far as upcoming matches go for the day, we've got Moscow 5 going against NVMI in the Moscow Cup in about an hour. That should be a pretty good one. What else are we looking at? Team Coast versus Fnatic is in about 5 hours. That's going to be a great one. And Empire versus NVMI will also be very good. So if I'm making my picks for you to watch today, I think Hyper Glory Team versus EG is going to be great in WEC. I think that the game that we just brought up, which is going to be NVMI versus Empire, should be a really fun game. Both of those teams play very fast-paced Dota, and that'll be a good one to watch. You can watch that over on Hitbox with Pimpmuckle. The other game you can watch anywhere you want on Twitch.tv, as the WEC is being covered by pretty much everybody. So that's going to be, those are my picks of what you should watch today. And with that said, I am going to turn it over to Feeder Noob for our new feature called Cosmetic Corner. I guess not new, we've had it for 3 weeks now. So she can talk a little bit about the new releases and the new cosmetics that came out.
All right, sounds good. So, continuing on the whole techies hype stuff, I'm sure you guys noticed the Arcana came out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the effect of that does change based on the prismatic gem that you socket in there. And I would definitely recommend changing that if you're going to bother buying the Arcana.
Mm-hmm.
It affects how the cannon looks, it affects your little sign, your suicide, your ultimate. It's pretty nice. And I think probably pink looks pretty sick in there. I haven't tried it yet, but the pig hats are pink, so it probably looks good with pink.
Naturally, naturally. So Arcana out, something that could be fun. How much is that? Do you know?
It's about $35. I think it's like
Ooh.
$34.99.
Wow.
If you're looking for it on the Steam market, be careful because they're selling just the cannon on there. So it looks like it's cheaper, but it doesn't come with all the stuff that you're supposed to get.
And they're ripping out the gems, etc.
No, they're just so this Arcana is actually a bundle. So it comes with the Arcana cannon and then various hats for the characters.
Oh, okay.
Also, I think an emoticon. So you're getting a lot of stuff for it, but you got to be careful when you're buying it.
All right, makes sense. So buyer beware is, I guess, the moral of this story. The set's pretty nice. I wish I could get some stats on how many people buy these things when they come out, because I'm really curious what level of fans or how many fans are buying the $34 Techies Arcane. So, is there a place where you can see things like that you know of, or is it still pretty much just?
I feel like you could take a guess based on how many are resale listed on the Steam market, but I don't know where you'd be able to get an exact number.
No scientific proof. There's no Dota for cosmetics, guys.
There should be.
There should be. Any other cosmetics we need to know about?
Yeah, so another Techies related item is a bundle, which comes with a courier, a HUD skin, and an announcer pack. And I'm going to recommend that you just go to the Steam market and get the courier if you're interested in that. The HUD is kind of boring and the announcer is meh.
Meh.
So the courier is $4 and the bundle is $10. So just
meh.
go get the courier.
Meh is never good, but $4 is. So if you're interested in that, go grab that. I think that's a good idea. And that's why I like Feeder. She gives us the hard hitting reviews on items, rated from meh to gots to have it. Any other big items we should know about before we roll on to the next feature?
If you did not get a compendium, I would totally recommend going and getting the music pack separately.
I've heard.
It's really good, and it's 20 cents. So.
Oh wow! I didn't realize it was only 20 cents. It makes my compendium seem far less valuable than it was.
Well, you might have got some other stuff in that.
That's true. That's true. For those of you who don't know, compendium came out. We got banner kills, victory shouts, a lot of really cool things. The victory shout I think is one of my favorites, and that is a running tally of before a game starts. You can just yell, "I'm gonna win it," and it tracks how many in a row you win. So kind of a stupid little fun cosmetic. But yeah, no, the music is great. I tested a little bit last night. I'm going to do some more today. But a lot of folks are posting and saying, hey, this is the first time I've played Dota without my own music in a very long time. And I think that says a lot for the quality of the pack. So very, very exciting. 40 cents, you said, or 20 cents?
It's actually, it's 20 cents on the Steam market.
Go get it. Why not, man?
Charge out to battle with those tunes playing. It's pretty good.
So that is about all the time that we have for Cosmetic Corner. We appreciate you being here, Feeder. You can find her at Feeder Noob over on Twitter. Where's the YouTube where they can find you?
It's Dota 2 Feeder Noob.
Dota 2 Feeder Noob on YouTube, where she does unboxing when new chests come out, things like that. She's a resident cosmetics expert here. I'm working on getting some other guests as well. Like, Feeder may appreciate this. We're trying to get a Nooksy to come on, as well as some other people to talk a little bit more about the design side of cosmetics. So if you know a cosmetics designer who might be interested in coming onto the show and talking about what it's like to design them on a Friday, I'd love to have him here, and I'd love to have him here on a Friday when Feeder's here as well, so we can have a little bit of a cosmetic-focused show. That said, we've got some great episodes coming up. We've talked to Capitalist and Shivar and a few other people about coming on over the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned in. We've got some great stuff for you. I really appreciate you being around. We have been growing and trying to keep making great content for you guys. So if you have suggestions, if you have ideas, if you want to see something, please tweet it at me at Toffees_Dota2. And remember that if you want to support the show and you want to keep it grassroots, I don't want to sell advertising space. I want to keep this thing just the way it is. You can head over to patreon.com/Toffees. donate what you want, 50 cents, a dollar. Just support. Just even say, hey, you're doing a great job, keep it up. That's more than enough donation for me to encourage me to keep the show the way it is, instead of having to take some of the sponsors that have been coming down the pipeline. I'd much rather keep it sort of player friendly, I guess is the way to say it. That said, guys, I appreciate you being here. Short show today, mostly because the little man, I think, just used the bathroom, and I've got to get him into the crib for some changing. That said, he won't always be here. He's 5 days old, and Mom is desperate for sleep, so when Mom needs sleep, Dad takes the baby to the studio, and Toffees Jr. is getting the start to his casting career right now. So I appreciate you guys here. I'm going to cut the stream and then come back with some music for you to listen to as we get everything prepped up. It'll be on YouTube, at SoundCloud, and podcasts by the end of the day today. Feeder Noob, a big shout out and a thank you to you for coming in today. Is there any last comments or things you want to say before we end the show?
Enjoy the techies, guys, and try to have a happy Dota.
Enjoy the techies, have a happy Dota. And as always, Toffees out.